Welcome to the Equipped Disciple channel. My name is Rick McClatchy. I will be your host. We are here to be and to make disciples of Jesus, and we do that through daily devos, through Sunday sermons, and through other discipleship resources. We are here to equip you to be an equipped disciple. Welcome into another day of your daily devos. I'm Pastor Rick, and we're in Genesis chapter 27. Coming at you, and we're going to talk about Jacob stealing the blessing from Esau, from the blessing from their dad Isaac, and what in the world happens here. And then we're going to talk a little bit about a couple of principles I think that kind of roll out of this story that are pretty important for us to get a hold of. So it's kind of a long chapter, and we're going to cover the whole chapter in this one session. So we're going to jump right in and make it happen. So verse 1, when Isaac was old and his eyes were so weak that he could not see, he called his older son Esau and said to him, "My son," he answered, "Here I am." And he said, "Look, I'm old and I do not know the day of my death." And none of us do, right? None of us know the day of our death. Now he's older. He's probably sensing it's coming pretty quick, but a good reminder that none of us know the day of our death, so we shouldn't live our lives assuming too much. So now, take your hunting gear, your quiver and bow, go out in the field to hunt some game for me, then make a delicious meal that I love and bring it to me to eat, so that I can bless you before I die. Now, verse 5 right here, Rebekah was listening to what Isaac said to his son Esau. So while Esau went to the field to hunt some game to bring in, Rebekah said to her son Jacob, "Listen, I heard your father talking with your brother Esau, and he said, bring me the game and make it a delicious meal for me to eat so that I can bless you in the Lord's presence before I die. Now, my son," let's scroll up here a little bit. We're right here, verse 8. "Now, my son, listen to me and do what I tell you. Go to the flock and bring me 2 choice goats, and I will make them into a delicious meal for your father, the kind he loves. Then take it to your father to eat so that he may bless you before he dies." So Rebekah is favorable to Jacob, and Isaac is a fan of Esau. So we've got a little bit of parent rivalry thing happening here with the kids. Jacob answered Rebekah, his mother, "Look, my brother Esau is a very hairy man, and I'm a man with smooth skin. Suppose my father touches me, then I'll be revealed to him as a deceiver and bring a curse rather than a blessing on myself." His mother said to him, "Your curse be on me, my son. Just obey me and go get them for me." And this kind of an interesting, almost prophetic type of statement that she made, as we see how it plays out in the rest of her life. That this move actually cost her a lot. And so in a lot of senses, the curse was on her, even though it basically worked out exactly as she planned. It's still, there was this kind of curse that kind of rested on her for the remainder of her life. So he went and got the goats and brought them to his mother, and his mother made the delicious food that his father loved. Then Rebekah took the best clothes of her older son Esau, which were in the house, and had her younger son Jacob wear them. She put the skins of the young goats on his hands and the smooth part of his neck. Then she handed the delicious food and the bread that she had made to her son Jacob. When he came to his father, he said, "My father," and he answered, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" Immediately calling him out has to lie right up front. Jacob replied to his father, "I'm Esau, your firstborn. I've done as you told me. Please sit up and eat some of my game so that you may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How did you ever find it so quickly, my son?" He replied, "Because the Lord your God made it happen for me." Ugh, it's rough when you're lying and then you pull God in to try to substantiate your lie. It just feels like a bad move. Like, that's a bad look, bro. Then Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come closer so I can touch you, my son. Are you really my son Esau or not?" So Jacob came closer to his father Isaac, and when he touched him, he said, "The voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau." He did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like those of his brother Esau. So he blessed him. Again he asked, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he replied, "I am." Then he said, "Bring it closer to me and let me eat some of my son's game so that I can bless you." Jacob brought it close to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, "Please come closer to me, kiss me, my son." So he came close and kissed him, and when Isaac smelled his clothes, he blessed him and said, "Ah, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field that the Lord has blessed. May God give to you from the dew of the sky and from the richness of the land an abundance of grain and new wine. May people serve you and nations bow and worship to you. Be master over your relatives. May your mother's son bow and worship to you. Those who curse you will be cursed, and those who bless you will be blessed." Verse 30 here, as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had left the presence of his father Isaac, his brother Esau arrived from his hunting. He'd also made some delicious food and brought it to his father. And he said to his father, "Let my father get up and eat some of his son's game, so that you may bless me." But his father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" And he answered, "I'm Esau, your firstborn son." Isaac began to tremble uncontrollably. "Who is it then," he said, "who hunted game and brought it to me? I ate it all before you came in, and I blessed him. Indeed, he will be blessed." He's like, "I'm stuck, man. I already gave the blessing away. Like, I got tricked, man." And so when Esau heard his father's words, he cried out with a loud and bitter cry and said to his father, "Bless me too, father." But he replied, "Your brother came deceitfully and took your blessing." So he said, "Isn't he rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me twice now. He took my birthright, and look, now he has taken my blessing." So let's pause for a second and just talk about this Esau thing going on here. Like, talk about playing the victim. You know, did Jacob actually take his birthright from him? No, there was a trade involved that Esau completely agreed with. Poor planning on Esau's part does not construe an emergency on Jacob's part, and Jacob was a little bit opportunistic. I'll definitely give you that. But it's interesting, this attitude that Esau takes to him. Isn't he rightly named Jacob? For he has cheated me twice. Now, he certainly has cheated him once here, in a sense, but in another sense, he did give up his birthright. So really, that firstborn blessing belonged to Jacob, because Esau despised his birthright. So now he's like kind of pulling back on that and saying, no, I want the blessing. And so it's interesting, because he's like, on one hand, he's giving away his birthright like it doesn't matter, just for a bowl of stew. But now he's all grumpy and having a bad attitude and blaming Jacob for everything here. And there's an element here where he should have decided to maybe take a little bit of personal responsibility, but he's kind of refusing that opportunity here. And so now look, he has taken my blessing. And then he asked, "Haven't you saved a blessing for me?" But Isaac answered Esau, "Look, I have made him a master over you and given him all of his relatives as his servants and have sustained him with grain and new wine. What then can I do for you, my son?" All right. Esau, right up here, verse 38. Esau said to his father, "Do you have only one blessing, my father? Bless me too, my father." Esau wept loudly. His father Isaac answered him, "Look, your dwelling place will be away from the richness of the land, away from the dew of the sky above. You will live by your sword, and you will serve your brother. But when you rebel, you will break his yoke from your neck." And then this is Esau's response here. Esau held a grudge against Jacob because of the blessing his father had given him. And Esau determined in his heart, "The days of mourning for my father are approaching. Then I will kill my brother Jacob." When the words of her older son Esau were reported to Rebekah, she summoned her younger son Jacob and said to him, "Listen, your brother Esau is consoling himself by planning to kill you. So now, my son, listen to me. Flee at once to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him for a few days until your brother's anger subsides." And she says, "Stay with him for a few days." How silly, how foolish is that, to think that his anger of this type of an offense is going to subside in a few days. And so then I will send for you and bring you back from there. Why should I lose you both in one day? So Rebekah said to Isaac, "I'm sick of my life because of these Hethite girls. If Jacob marries someone from around here, like these Hethite girls, what good is my life? So that is why she sent him away to see Laban, her brother, and all of his relatives to try to find him a wife and also to get him away from Esau. So what is the thing that we can pull from this story for ourselves? Well, here, if you think back to when Rebekah was expecting to have the babies, and then she's like, man, there's something going on with the babies, and then the word of the Lord comes to her and says, hey, there's two nations in your belly, that they're going to be, kind of tussling with each other. And in that, it is said that the younger is the one that would come up on top, right? The older one would serve the younger. And so Rebekah already had the promise, already had the word of the Lord in this situation. And yet she felt like it was her responsibility to make it happen. It's kind of like Sarah with Ishmael and Hagar, and that whole situation is when the promises of God are taking too long and they maybe even feel like they're slipping away, because Sarah certainly felt like it was slipping away because she's getting older and she's like, man, I haven't been able to have a kid. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to have a kid. So I better make it happen myself. I better come up with a solution to fulfill God's plan, because it's weird how in this situation, you're just a silly little human being, with no real superpowers. And we're serving the God of the universe who created everything that we see by the power of the words of his mouth. And we somehow think that we have the ability to make his plan happen more effectively than he does. It's crazy. And yet, it happens again and again and again. And so Rebekah here, like she said, like, hey, if you get found out or whatever, let that curse come upon me. It's like she wasn't planning to see what the ramifications of her plan would have kind of long term. And so she made a decision and she got Jacob involved, and she orchestrated this whole thing. And essentially she lost both of her sons in one day, even though that was the thing she was trying to avoid. Because Jacob never saw his mom alive again. After he left to go to Laban's place, he was gone for over 20 years. Not a few days, like she said. Stay with him for a few days, she said, until your brother's anger subsides. Well, that never happened. He was gone for 20 years plus, and his mom died while he was away. So he never got to see his mom again. So this rushing of the plan of God, this trying to manufacture the promises of God in your own life, is what got them in trouble, caused them to take on, avenues and ways to get it done that were not godly. You can't accomplish godly purposes with ungodly actions. It's just it's a no-brainer here, folks. So all the lying and deceiving that Jacob had to do should have been such a humongous red flag. But I know, obviously, there is some Eastern, Western kind of like mindset going on here. So I know that they would have in their culture seen it a little differently to lie to him. It would have been a little less black and white as it is kind of in our world in Western society. And so like making a little room for that difference for sure. But still you can see that they had to go and do ungodly things to try to accomplish the godly promises, to see the godly promises fulfilled in Jacob's life. And so that's just a recipe for disaster. Jacob definitely paid the price, losing relationship with his brother, definitely a tense relationship with his father right there at the very end, to where it kind of didn't ruin things because you can see at the beginning of the next chapter, Isaac summons Jacob and blesses him and commands him, don't marry the Hittite women or that kind of thing. But he had to leave, so that his dad, so that Esau didn't kill him. And so he lost relationship with his dad, he lost relationship with his mom, and he lost relationship with his brother because of the actions that he took to try to supersede the promises of God in his life. And so, man, that's a steep price to pay. So if we could just choose to believe that he cares for us, we cast our cares on him because he cares for us. If we could just believe that he is a God who keeps his promises, period, end of story. Facts, like he keeps his promises, period. So if it doesn't look like his promises are going to come to pass, you just haven't waited long enough, because he's going to come through, because he's faithful. That's the kind of God that he is. So that's what I had for you here today, is patience and waiting out the promises of God, the story of God, so that we can see the glory of God come and be released in our lives without having to pay such a steep penalty like Jacob did in this situation, and Rebekah as well. So with that, big hearty God bless you. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.